Hey everybody, welcome back. Badass Farmer here, and today is going to be a great video for all you homesteader gardeners out there. Today I'm going to be showing you guys what we did to design our stuff and maybe hopefully give you some ideas. So if you love growing your own food and you like homesteading, you ain't going to want to miss this one. So one of the most important things I wanted to think about when I designed this whole thing was functionality, spacing, and making sure that I can get the water to where it needs to go. So if you haven't seen the hydrant video, you might want to check that out. I'm going to put a post over here, hopefully. And this is one of the first things we did before we even got started. So this is a 2-foot below ground hydrant, which I'm going to basically have what's already connected down the bottom with poly tubing, which is going to our well. And if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check that out. And but that was the first thing we did before we actually got things started. So I wanted to show you this now before I get this whole area covered up, because if you can kind of look around, you can see the black weed tarp over the whole entire area. And I have it even outside of the area because we basically what we did, we figured out, okay, how big of an area we wanted to do. I think we wanted to do something like 77 by 45 feet or so, somewhere around that range. And we wanted to make sure we had enough space to walk in between on either side and on both inside and the back side of the raised bed area. When we built these beds, and there's all kinds of shapes you can do, really cool shapes. You can do octagon shape. We wanted to do something simplistic. We can easily put it together. You know, we just didn't have the time. You know, with these, you know, all we did was we have these are 2x6 wood, and they are about 4 feet wide, and I think it was 8 feet long. All this is non-treated wood. Okay, so when you're talking about doing things organically, you don't want to use treated. You want to stick with something that's not going to endanger putting chemicals in your soil. But by doing it 4 feet wide, it makes it easy for you to harvest your things, for you to plant your seeds. If you start going bigger than that, unless you got really long arms, which I don't, then you're going to be, you know, getting into problems with reaching in, unless you're doing stepping stones. And if you do stepping stones, you could do that. That's kind of cool. But then you also think about the space that you're losing putting the steps in there. And then I used to do that by accident. Back in our old house, we did that. I think it was about, I want to say 5 feet deep, maybe a little bit wider. And it was a little bit harder for me to get to the center. So I just said, you know what, I'm just going to put a couple of stepping stones in there. But then, you know, I lost a good foot of space, all the way from the top to the bottom. So just something to think about. You want to make it so it's easy for you to get to harvest-wise. And one other thing I want to also point out is that when you're doing this, making sure that you're putting enough spacing between here and wherever you're, for us, we're going to do a fencing. So I had a good 3.5 feet of space between here and where the fence is going to go. So I want to make sure I can walk through this area, and I want to make sure I can walk in between these raised beds also. The first thing we did was we laid the weed cloth down. That's going to help suppress the weeds. The wood chips, which we're getting delivered it in from a guy who was a tree cutter, and it cost him money to take it to a compost area. So to save him money and to save me money, he agreed that he could just drop it off here by the loads. And that is like way over there. It's probably hard for you guys to see. You can see kind of like a mounds over there, but that's all wood chips, which will be going not only in the raised bed area, but it's also going to be providing material for our blueberries. And the good thing about wood chips is when it biodegrades, it becomes acidic. As far as the raised beds go, This soil is all compost. You know, I got this from a recycling area. They deliver compost, and for a fee of, I think it was like $113 or something like that for delivery, minimum of 16 square yards. That doesn't sound like much, but it's a big dump truck load. They literally come and just back it in, dump a whole truckload, and I basically with a wheelbarrow shoveled it onto the wheelbarrow from that big pile. You could kind of see where that pile is, what's left of it, next to my little chembuster there and my little Buddha sitting next to it. But that was like way higher. That was probably higher than where that chembuster is, as far as on the peak. It was a little bit, probably another foot or two above that. So yeah, we got that delivered, and I just basically hand shoveled it, wheelbarrowed it into each particular raised bed. Then what I did was, once I got it in here, I took a rake, flattened it all out, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the compost is some pretty good compost. You don't want to just use dirt, you know, maybe unless you have really good dirt. And dirt and soil, I probably shouldn't be using that word dirt, but you want to have something that has a high count of pH, okay? Because that's going to be good for all your greens or tomatoes. They really thrive in a high pH environment, and compost is going to do that. It's nice and fluffy, and the reason why I decided to go with getting it from a compost facility is because when you're buying it by the bag, I think one bag, 3.5 square yards, cubic feet. Mm-hmm. I think it comes out to like $8 for like one bag, $6 to $8, depending on who it is. And I used to get it from like, what was it, Leaf Grow, something like that. It's expensive. You start adding all those bags up. So to get it a whole dump like that, and I think we paid, I think it was like with shipping, a little over $300. So considering the price, it was well worth it. So so as you can see, the raised beds are pretty much done. These are, like I said, 8x4s. We have ones in the center there that are more narrow, and again, this is going to be our walking path where the entrance is over there, and then this is going to be a walking path. This is all walking paths really, but we kind of wanted to do something where you had different sizes. So those are 3x11s, and we have 6 of them. Eventually we're going to put another one here. I was thinking about doing an octagon design for the center here. We're thinking about maybe putting a tree, some type of edible tree, either a peach tree, something that's not going to get crazy too big, because I also want to consider not having something too big where it's going to be, you know, too shady. So if you put an apple tree in there, it's going to grow gigantuous unless it's a dwarf or you keep it trimmed. So you can see the 3x11s there, another big spacing right there, which will be another raised bed that we're going to put there, maybe octagon-y shape, and then the last 2 of the 3x6s. So
and then the 6 entrances.
Yes, is it 6? Yeah.
Yeah.
1 there, 2 here, 2 on this opposite side, and then another one here. 2, 4, 6. Yeah.
And there'll be arbors.
Yeah. We're gonna put some arbors together, and hopefully get some grapes in those. But yeah, that'll all come in time. And the biggest issue is when you're putting the cloth down, is trying to do it on a non-windy day and making sure you have those staples. Let me see if I can see one. Yeah, you kind of hard to see. If I can get this out. Yeah, this is really in there. But that's basically what they call a staple. And basically it's like a stake with a little U shape, and it holds down the weed tarp, and we overlapped them. So actually this is 2 pieces, and these are, we got 6 by 300 feet, several rolls of that. And so we overlapped them, so it's probably overlapped a good, I want to say 8 inches or so. I've heard different things in terms of what the spacing is for putting these staples in, 4 feet or so. But we lived in a really windy area, so we had to be quick about trying to make sure that the wind didn't blow it up, because it started to at some point. We only live like 5 minutes away from the beach, so the wind gets kind of crazy around here. So obviously the wood chips is a big plus for us, because not only is it provide a choking point for the weeds. Eventually some weeds will grow through this. It's not 100% going to keep out all the weeds. The weeds will find its way out, but when you do have weeds that come out, they'll be pulling out so easily, it's just like not even comparing to what it is on the actual ground. So it's great because it provides a nice walking area, it suppresses the weeds, and it's a great way to reuse material that's eventually just going to be dumped somewhere else. But either way, I'm going to make good use of it. So that is pretty much it now. I wanted to show you this now. The design, hopefully I'll post it here, what we did in terms of how we came up with design, how it looks. You can design it any way you feel works for you. And the one thing I will tell you is that just make sure you're aware of your spacing in terms of how wide you're making these raised beds, the walking space in between it. And maybe you don't need as much space. You probably don't. I just did this because I'm thinking about people walking through here. It's going to be kind of like a walk-through garden for our farm. So I'm thinking of all those things. So spacing was also very important for us. If you live in a tight space, you don't have that much room to work with, make it tighter. As long as you can walk through it, and that's all that matters. So I think that is going to be it. I'm going to finish putting the wood chips over all this stuff, and then once we get the fencing up, I'll probably show you another follow-up on that and just let you see how it all comes together. So all right guys, hope everything is going well with you guys. Hope you guys are starting to plan out your season. It's we're at the end of, actually no, today's the 1st of March. Wow. Yeah. Growing season's right around the corner. Thank God. Man. But yeah, there's so much work that has to be done, and it's just through the winter time it's just not enough time. And when it's like 20 below, even though you have a pile of wood chips, that becomes a frozen pile, so you can't do anything with that. So one more day wasted. Anyway guys, hope you guys are doing good, and I'll see you guys soon. All right, take care.